What do you do when you're driving to Dallas for some retro hunting adventures and some New Japan Pro Wrestling? Why, you stop for barbecue along the way. Retro Hunting Adventures starts right now.
Yo, this is MegaManFan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
No retro hunting can be done on an empty stomach, so we stopped at Wallys BBQ in Ardmore, Oklahoma. 7 locations throughout the state. The Firehouse sandwich caught my eye. Each combo comes with a drink and a side. So here are those sides. I chose the campfire taters. They also have spuds and salads as well. Now I suppose because I'm from Nebraska, I thought taters would be tater tots, but it turns out that the campfire taters are actually more like home fries, although they did have a nice crispiness to them. And our server brought us 4 different sauces to try, everything ranging from savory to sweet to peppery to super hot. Basically, the Firehouse was an entire barbecue in a sandwich. Brisket, sausage links, baked beans, cheese, onions, you name it, it's in there. This was delicious. I would go back to Swadley's and try something else on their menu as well, so feel free to stop in and say hi and tell them Mr. MegaManFan sent you. The first store we hit in the Dallas area was GameOver Video Games, and immediately on walking in the door I saw Flag to Flag for Dreamcast, which was a game that I needed for my collection, but unfortunately when we got to the counter to check out, it was really scratched up, so sadly I did not end up getting it. But they have a very nicely laid out store, lots of room to walk around, and a lot of merchandise on display in glass cases, games lined up alphabetically, accessories for consoles bagged and tagged. I was very pleased with how this store was put together, so 2 thumbs up for GameOver, who also gave me 10% off on my entire purchase that day for leaving them a review on Facebook. So if you see a review of GameOver Video Games, that's why, but anything I said in that review is the honest truth. I really enjoyed this store. I also enjoyed the conversation I had with one of the people working at the store who told me that the Game Chasers are regulars in there. Billy and Jay come through quite frequently. I figured, hey, I'm in Texas. Why wouldn't the Game Chasers come here? And as you can see, there's their store's official t-shirt with a cowboy hat on the top. Locations in Dallas and Fort Worth. We got some Skylanders figures in a glass case here. And behind that, we have boxed consoles all the way along the wall from one end to the other. The Wii U section caught my eye. Scrolled down, looked through. Hey, I see a few things that I might just want here. In particular, let's see how this particular copy of Marvel Avengers Battle for Earth looks. Are there instructions inside? Yes, there are. Okay, that's a keeper. I'm hanging on to that one. Let's keep going. Let's see what else I can find. Scrolling around past Pikmin 3 and a boxed copy of River City Melee. Limited run games. Somebody obviously traded that in. Moving onward to the back of the store, we have some artwork being sold on consignment. So that 10% discount I mentioned earlier does not apply to anything on the wall or in the glass case. You cannot get 10% off for a review on those goods. Here's a sign advertising the Classic Game Fest coming up this month, and they have a party room in the back, so if you want to organize a game tournament in Dallas or Fort Worth, GameOver Video Games might be the place to go. They also have a history of consoles and computers in glass cases on display. I don't think any of these are for sale because they actually have descriptions on placards in stands next to each one, but these ones on the back wall are for sale. I'm sure that N64 Pikachu set caught somebody's eye. Also got some handhelds in this case, everything from the Lynx to the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And of course, what game store is complete without some Pops these days? everything from Atari to Xbox at GameOver Video Games. And here in the glass case nearer to the front, we've got some more vintage video games for a variety of systems, including some import titles that I'm sure will catch the eye of people like my friend Saromaru, hashtag Sorrow Crew. PS4 games in the case as well, some Nintendo plushies, including a very nice looking Rush. I think it's the same one that I have on my couch at home. So happy to see that. Walk around a customer here and get a close look. We got a full case of vintage Atari 2600 games. That's always nice. We've got some NES titles here. And of course, nothing that I need, but hey, if something catches your eye that you need, game over, check them out. I asked about these N64 games, but somebody had just sold them in and they weren't in inventory yet, so couldn't get any of those, sadly. But we move on. What else can we find here in Game Over Video Games? So we move ever closer back toward the entrance, and the next glass case has Nintendo 64 games that they can sell. And a fairly decent selection, too. Top shelf is WCW NWO and Wetrix in the middle. We've got some sports titles, quite a few copies of some of them, which I suppose isn't that surprising, but also quite a few copies of Mission Impossible as well. Circling around to the end, we've got a full case of Game Boy Advance and DS games, some Atari Lynx, PSP, DS games, some handhelds here, and some Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. A very nice selection on the whole. I again was really impressed with how well distributed everything was around this store, how much walk room there was between all the aisles of merchandise. It's just super clean in here. We got some custom wallets with stuff like Smash Brothers, Mega Man, Alex Kidd, Altered Beast. I really dug these wallets, but I've got a Mega Man wallet, so I didn't necessarily need a new wallet today. But I love video game themed merchandise, so I'm always going to look. And hey, they've got some of those Mega Man figures that used to be exclusive to GameStop. I'm guessing somebody traded those in. And to wrap it all up, we've got some miscellany on the end, from Lara Croft to Zelda to Donkey Konga Yahtzee. Good stuff. Here's what I bought at Game Over Video Games. Win-back covert operations for Nintendo 64. They had buy one, get one 50% off, but that was the only N64 game they had I needed. You saw Marvel Avengers earlier in this video, but what you didn't see was that I got an item from the consignment case, which was this Mega Man X complete with a life power bar that doubles as a display stand you can put it on. So I thought this was really neat. My wife found it in the case and said, "I'm not letting you leave without looking at this because I know you'll want it." And here's some additional info about the artist who made it. She goes by the name The Pixelized Princess. Be sure to check out her website. Tell her Mr. MegaManFan said thank you for the cool merch. Here's another restaurant we checked out in the Dallas area. This one was actually very close to the America Airlines Center where the New Japan Wrestling Show was being held, and it's called Rodeo Goat. This ring toss game was right inside the door. One was a loser buys for up to 4 people. The other was first person to 100 points wins. And as you can see, people are trying very hard to toss these rings and land them on the pegs. But it is very tricky because you're using just the momentum of your swing and hoping that it lands in the right place on the hook. This place was very busy on a Friday night at 6 o'clock in the evening, which is probably because their happy hour runs till 7 o'clock. So I think everybody was getting one last round of drinks in before calling it an evening, because once it hit 7, a lot of this restaurant cleared out really fast. But I suspected, based on the crowd, that it was good drinks and good food, and I was not disappointed. I had the Nanny Goat Burger, which comes with goat cheese, and the fries were double fried, which I always like because that makes them really tender on the inside and really crispy and delicious on the outside. So much like Swadley's, I can highly recommend Rodeo Goat if you're in the area. Stop and play some games, eat some food, have yourself a really good time while you're in Dallas. You know, I've got so much footage from this trip, we're going to have to make it a two-parter, so I'll close with this look at the New Japan press conference I attended on Friday, and then tell you that in the next episode, we're going to go to the Movie Trading Company and FX, which was a place that was recommended to me by the wonderful video game historian and author Brett Weiss. So be sure to check him out as well. He's got a YouTube channel. I will link to it in the description, and buy some of his books from his website as well, because he writes fantastic write-ups of vintage console games, and I've contributed a few write-ups to his Super Nintendo book as well. But for now, this is Mr. MegaManFan at New Japan saying, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.